Tell me about that security aspect here, where I can't just call my bank and say, "Hey, someone stole my credit card."
Yeah, very good question. Okay, so we're seeing this more and more, particularly in Europe. Like, yeah, Bitcoin puts personal responsibility on you. If you have self custody of your Bitcoin, your own wallet, you're the only one responsible for it, right? So you cannot call someone if you lose it. Bitcoin is secure, the system is secure, but your physical security is not that secure, right? The $5 wrench attack, we call it. It's on stakes a $5 wrench, hit you in the head, and that's it.
You are about to embark on a journey, not just through space and time, but through the very fabric of human perception. Imagine a world where the familiar becomes strange, and the strange becomes familiar. A place where the boundaries of reality blur, and the only limit is your imagination. This is a voyage into the heart of the unknown, where every turn reveals a new perspective, and every story challenges what you thought you knew. Welcome to Bold Perceptions, where we explore the myriad ways people see the world and discover that sometimes the most extraordinary adventures lie just beyond the horizon of our own understanding.
Back in Bold, kind of a beautiful day in Curitiba. The weather is starting to get colder. I'm seeing a lot of rain, but luckily I have an indoor heated rooftop pool, so I can still get my swimming in. I'm still Hakuna Matata. I got my mug here at the antique store. It's a Beer Fest mug from Oktoberfest in Brazil. In the South, they have a lot of Germans. They do it every year. This one, I think, or the other one was like from 1961. You know what I mean? Beautiful antique pickup I got. And today, at all-time highs, Bitcoin is not even, the retail's not even getting in right now, but we're at all-time highs in Bitcoin. We have a dude here, Gustavo, and his partner that are creating a transactional thing with Bitcoin in Mexico. My friend, how are you today?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me. How are you?
Another day, another dollar. It's not too bad. So, and you're in Mexico City, no?
Yeah, I'm in Mexico City.
Okay, beautiful. And you and your buddy are from Canada. He's a Polish dude, but you're a Peruvian. And now you're for some reason in Mexico creating Bitcoin payment processing, or what's going on here?
Yeah, that's exactly it. So we moved to Mexico 4 years ago. Discovered Mexico is still a virgin country for like Bitcoin apps. So we got into that.
But you and the Polish man, so you're a Peruvian, he's Polish, and you were somehow growing up in Canada. So walk me through the story of the friendship and then why the hell you're in Mexico.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, everyone in Canada is from another country. Canada is like the most soulless country you'll find in the world. And so yeah, I mean, I moved to Canada when I was a kid. Maciek was born there, but we started being friends in high school. Everything was going well. The winters are tough, but you still
Terrible.
handle that. And I mean, you barely handle that. But when we discovered Bitcoin, we're like, and we started thinking maybe we could go somewhere else. We're freer now. We can do whatever we want. We can work online. But we're okay. Let's keep it like that. And then COVID hit, and then everybody became absolutely crazy. Like people from all your life, friends, family. They're like, well, if you don't agree with us, if you don't agree what they say on TV, you must be a far right Nazi extremist. So yeah, I mean, after like a couple months of having just complete lockdown policy, curfew from like 8 to 8, couldn't get out of the house after 8 p.m. Lockdown on Christmas or any day really, you couldn't see your family, friends. People were going crazy. You even had ads on TV telling people to snitch on others. Like, if you see your neighbor like having people over for Christmas, just snitch them. Very, very dystopian type of thing. So
And Mexico was free at the time. I assume that's why you went
Mexico
down
is
there.
the only country in the world that never imposed any entry requirement to get into the country. So yeah, it wasn't like paradise, but it was basically that. So we went to Playa del Carmen first, and
Win, bro. You're probably at the same time I was there. I mean, when
yeah,
COVID hit,
we were there in January 21, and then we were there again in May 21.
we were in the same. I was 2020 after Italy got cold again. Because I was living in Italy at the time, right? I didn't follow any of the rules. I had the most La Dolce Vita summer of all time. But when they started shutting down again in the fall and it got cold, I don't like being in Europe when it's cold. I went to Playa del Carmen, and it was crazy. It was like the whole world is sitting in their room for that winter, but the Mexicans are Kuna Matata. They were wearing masks, and it was mostly, I think, the gringo was free. They were kind of taking some precaution, but I really do appreciate Mexico for that. So we probably in Mexico, Playa del Carmen at the same time. That's interesting.
Yeah, for sure, probably. I mean, it's funny because I talked to a lot of people and like everybody was around the same place at the same time. There weren't that many options, to be honest. And I think the Mexicans, like they follow the rules, but they didn't go super crazy about it, you know. Some did, but most people were like, this is just for show, you know, but like I'm still gonna hang out with my friends, you know. I think when you have like deeper values, you don't let like this take over you, you know. Canadians are so empty of values that whenever there's like a directive or like a something to all go towards, like, you know, we're all for COVID or we're all for Ukraine, they will all jump on it because they have nothing else going on in their lives, you know. And it's a good country and they're nice people, but they're very obedient and they get brainwashed very quickly. So yeah.
I was gonna say though, because if a Canadian's listening to this, you're a dude from Peru, okay? Now Peru's becoming a better country and whatnot, but you came there for opportunity. They gave you opportunity. I don't know if you studied there or whatnot, and you're gonna tell them, "Oh my God, you're empty and soulless and all that." I mean, that is gonna cause resentment. Do I not? Do I disagree? I don't think so, because I think you're right. They're in the Western type world now, especially in the New World. We're very spread out with the suburbs. We don't have as much, social culture like the Latinos down south. So I can see your points, but be careful with that, man, because they're pissed off right now. I mean, I see the Indian stuff. They talk about Indians like crazy. The Canadians, they hate them right now because they're taking over or whatnot. And run me through that. You make the Canadians still like you.
Yeah, man. Well, we moved to Canada because it was one of the greatest countries on earth, right? You have back in the early 2000s, Canada had like compared to the US, many Latinos will be like, should I move to Canada or should I move to the US? And like Canada has many upsides to the US, such as it's way safer. It's way there's more accessibility to like public
Healthcare.
services.
Yeah.
Healthcare, exactly. And just more opportunity for the average guy. At least that's the perception, like a Latino family that moves to the US will end up in a hood. You will end up like cleaning other people's houses, In Canada, it's a more equal country, let's say, But and still a very strong business culture at that point, But that business culture has dried out, and I think that's one of the biggest problems here. So you just keep the socialism, but you remove the capitalism, and that just creates a weaker country over and on a longer term basis, But it is true that historically Canadians have been very obedient. They were the country where the people in the U.S. that wanted to remain loyal to the king, they just went to Canada. So this has been historically, and Canada always has like remained by the side of the crown. So that I think is historic. But what has changed, and many friends that I have in Canada that are Canadian born, that their ancestors came to Canada like 400 years ago, agree with me, is that like if you go 100 years ago, Canadians were very different than when they are today. At some point around at least in Quebec, in the 1960s, there was this big government plot to change, basically hijack Canadians' culture. Basically, everyone was living in a rural lifestyle, very religious, and maybe the church took it too far, But then the government hijacked the culture, said now we're going to be anti-church, anti-religion, and that kind of switched the culture in the 1960s. And I would tell you, like, French Canadians will agree with me that there was a sort of hijack of the culture at that point, and it gave good, positive results. At first, you had a very good public health care system, for example, but then over the long term, the public systems, they just decay, they become more corrupt, and you're left with a culture that was hijacked and transformed, So you're left with little. Plus, a culture that attacks entrepreneurs and like capitalism, So I mean, I think there's a split. You know, many Canadians will agree with me, as many Canadians will completely disagree with me, and you know that's fine. But that's what I think has happened. You know.
Interesting. Okay, let's get on to the big topic. I like this though. I don't want to just pitch your business, but Bitcoin. When did you first discover Bitcoin? You know, everyone heard the story of the pizza 10,000. That was the other day, right? The 10,000 Bitcoin pizza day. But when did you really get into the Bitcoin? And if you want to tell us when you bought your first Bitcoin.
I bought my first Bitcoin 10 years ago. September 2015, Bitcoin was coming back from like a big bear market. It was around $300. But I didn't know anything about it. Like I didn't really understand it. I just thought it was a quick way to get rich online. You know, it's like, just another get quick rich scheme. And I bought Bitcoin and about like 50 other cryptos. And I had a lot of fun there. Like those first 2 years, I was like still very young. I was like 19, and but we had our intel, but it wasn't very sophisticated, you know. And it went up, and things went down again in 2018. You know, some like cryptos went down like 95. So one day you're at the top, and then you're at the bottom. I guess it was really in 2018 where I understood the fundamentals behind it. Why today I think Bitcoin is in a different category than everything else, you know, because it's the only one that has been resilient throughout time, and is the one that has like fundamental value. So around 2018, I like became more serious about it. I started working on it full time. I've been in this industry for now 7 years. I've had many different entrepreneurial projects that were my own, like startups, and also like jobs at other companies. And yeah, I mean, 2018 is really the moment where I became serious about it. And ever since, I'm just a big Bitcoin fan. You know, this is basically the main thing that I'm passionate about. You know, lately AI has been pretty cool too, but yeah, I think Bitcoin's going to change everything. And so when I moved to Mexico, you know, I guess that the Bitcoin thing really opened my mind to like, I could just live anywhere, you know, because then you start getting into all these like maybe libertarian or anarchist ideas about like, well, like this book that was written in 1997, Sovereign Individual. Many people in Bitcoin love that book, you know. And that book tells you like when the internet era is going to hit, everybody's going to be able to work from anywhere, you know. These ideas that are very popular today, some guys were writing about in the 90s, right? Because they were just going from like freedom first principles. And yeah, so I mean, I started getting interested in that. Then COVID hit, and it was like, well, this is just reality pushing me to take the freedom steps, you know. So I work online. I only manage Bitcoin. I don't have a bank account or a trace on the money I move, really. And yeah, and I live in Mexico now, but I could live anywhere else in the future, you know. And now we created this little tool in Mexico that allows you to basically live on Bitcoin. So if you have Bitcoin, you can pay anyone's bank accounts. So it's very common in Mexico to pay with SPAY, which is like bank transfer, kind of like Pix in Brazil is, you know, the payment system. And yeah, so my app goes from Bitcoin to SPAY, like Bitcoin to Pix, and you can just live with Bitcoin in Mexico. And that's what we're working on.
We'll talk more about the details on this later on, but I want to really dive into the Bitcoin. So I think 5 years ago, we had a dude on here who's been in the game just as long as you, and he was like, you need to buy now. It was at like $19,000, I think, in 2020, when it kind of went up. He's like, it doesn't matter, buy. You need to buy. So we did a whole episode. He broke it down, why you should, why you shouldn't. Now, I do have Bitcoin, okay? So I do believe in the free money or capped money, so we can't print more, that I can take it across borders without declaring it. Like, I love that principle of it, but two parts. One, I still want the US dollar to reign supreme. Why? Because I'm an American citizen, right? I love having the world reserve currency. So if I am pro Bitcoin, am I against my future, you know, with the dollar and USA? And two, I 100% think the NSA or someone is involved. How else could they let this get so big without having control of it? You know what I mean? Like, to me, it's like a no-brainer that the strongest country in peak power and maybe history would get involved or have a big hand in play. So those two things, if I'm liking Bitcoin, does that mean I'm hoping for the demise of the USA? And two, is the NSA or alphabet agencies involved, do you think?
Yeah, well, those are two very good questions. Okay, so I will start that first. I would say that nobody wants more the demise. Nobody's working more for the demise of the USA than the U.S. government. You know, like they've been running up this trade deficit for decades, and now the financial debt is at an all-time high, like $40 trillion. If it keeps going this way, it's gonna bankrupt the country, you know, and the citizens
How?
of.
But how? This is what people say. I said, who's going to collect the debt? When your military is combined the next nine below you total, like who's going to collect the debt? Is it right? Is it fair? Is it no? But this is like throughout history. When you're the top dog, when you have the world reserve currency, when you're running the show, it doesn't matter. It's like it's a make-believe debt. Okay, well, you want to take the debt from us, China? Okay, let's go to war. You're not going to win, right? So it's a problem, big problem. Okay, government is completely corrupt. I do not like most government. I will say, living in Denmark, I think that's the only time I've seen government kind of work. But when the Bitcoiners say this stuff, it's like, but are you guys not seeing, like, the Bitcoins don't have guns? You know, or the Bitcoin people do have guns, but like the Bitcoin is not backed by the USA military. Real world shit, no?
Of course. Well, I don't think it's that settled that the U.S. would win a war against China. China has a 200x naval power production than the USA. For one ship the USA produces, China produces 200 as much. You know,
No. The reason why I completely disagree with this, and I'm not saying I'm not a super. I love USA. Okay, I don't live there. I haven't lived there for a long time, but like it's my country. Okay, it's my blood. You know, like I love the ideals of USA. But if China was so tough, they would have took Taiwan years ago. Okay, that is the biggest stain on their legacy. They have the real China. You know, when they left the revolution, they went to Taiwan. Okay, and they still say they're China, right? It's embarrassing, right? And that's right next door to them. They haven't taken it. If they're so strong and powerful, they would fucking take Taiwan. They would, and they can't. They could have took it when we're doing a proxy war in Ukraine. We're doing the Israel-Palestine thing, right? And no, they just sit back and we're gonna wait and play it out. They are playing smart games right now. I will say that, like sending aid to Gaza and trying to do trade deals all over Africa. But I was in Kenya, bro. Everyone's like, oh my God, China is actually building railways and doing this. Bro, I was on the train from Nairobi to Mombasa. This was a fucking train that wouldn't even be good enough for bumfuck nowhere Poland, regional Poland. Know what I mean? So, anyways, I get a little antsy about the Chinese topic. Keep going. I interrupted you.
yeah, no worries. Well, I mean, like, I'm not saying this is for sure gonna happen, right? I'm just saying, as a country becomes more corrupt, as a country prints more money and wastes the money, it just becomes weaker financially, you know. So for example, like there was a bond sale this week, and it was a very weak. It was a big failure, to be honest. People don't want to buy the U.S. bonds as much as they did a couple years ago, right? Because they, first of all, like defaulting is one thing, right? Which is the most unlikely. What's more likely to happen is the devaluation of a currency to pay back its debt, you know. And this has happened before. In the 1930s, the U.S. devalued the U.S. dollar considerably to pay back the debt they had, you know. That's all, like the Executive Order 6102 when like FDR nationalizes the gold to pay back the debt. So something similar, I see it kind of happen, you know. It's just a weaker finances for a government means more devaluation to be expected from a currency. And I would say, so the first case about Bitcoin is not that like Bitcoin's going to destroy the currencies of the world, the countries of the world. It's not. Countries are putting themselves in a position where they're going to have to devalue to fix their finances, and Bitcoin cannot be devalued in the same way, you know. So that just makes it more competitive. That's the first one. The second one is the U.S. government is smart. As much as it's corrupt, it's very smart. And now, well, they're talking about Bitcoin too. They want Bitcoin too, right? Like, first of all, they got 300,000 Bitcoins that they're not selling, that Trump declared as strategic Bitcoin reserve. But they already got, Trump also declared in that law, teams inside the Treasury Department that are gonna figure out ways to create Bitcoin through like capturing financial markets. You know, like they control the liquidity in the market so they can make a little spread as market makers. That's happening now. So I think the U.S. government is gonna accumulate a ton of Bitcoin over the next couple of years, and at a certain point, that's going to stabilize the dollar. So I don't even think Bitcoin is really much against the dollar. I think there could be a coexistence where the dollar benefits from the Bitcoin the U.S. government has, and Bitcoin benefits from the fact that the U.S. government buys it. And I think that's where it's going. So I have many American friends that are that run Bitcoin companies, and they say like, actually right now, not only the government, but like nobody has more Bitcoin than Americans themselves. So Americans are positioning, if Bitcoin wins, Americans are positioning themselves to be at the top of the world again for the next century, in the Bitcoin century, So that to me is like, that's the way I think many Americans reconcile with Bitcoin, and I think it makes total sense.
Very interesting. Good breakdown. So, do you think the NSA is involved? Do you think CIA? Any of these people are players in it?
I think they have been like, so in 2010 the main developer of Bitcoin went to the CIA to present this 1 year after Bitcoin was created, and that's when not the inventor, like just one of the first developers, that's when the inventor Satoshi, who we still don't know who he is, that's when he disappeared. He like 2 weeks after, he's like, okay, I'm done with this project and disappearing. I don't think he was CIA, but I think the CIA has known about this since the beginning, and they use it to their advantage. I don't think they control it. They have many influence over many parties involved, like probably many companies involved, many developers involved, many mining companies, people that go on TV are probably CIA assets, talk about Bitcoin. Like this makes total sense, right? But does the system work? Yes, the system works. Nobody can print more. Nobody can confiscate funds or censor transactions. That works, and that I think is the most important part, And
Good. Or it was the Trojan horse to do CBDs or whatever, get rid of cash, get rid of all privacy, because you can trace all Bitcoin. Okay, we know that now. It's not Monero, right? And I don't even know if Monero is CIA operated or whatnot, but this is not to you like the perfect Trojan horse. Okay, yeah, let's get people in here. This is freedom, this is privacy, and then boom, now the dollar is a digital dollar, and we're transitioning all to that. Like, don't you think there's some nefarious intentions with crypto becoming popular?
Yeah, I mean, if you talk about the stable coins, yes, like stable coins have been playing a bigger role now, and now like the U.S. government is talking about it like it's becoming federal policy almost, like to push stablecoins across the world. This, first of all, makes them have more influence across the world, right? Because now people in like everywhere in the world can just download an app and have US dollars on a stablecoin wallet, right? So that gives more power to the dollar. That's the first goal. The second goal is definitely to like have more control through have more power through stablecoins, and then that could like lead to more power, and like a CBD stablecoins become the CBDC. Yes, I believe that's happening. I think that's clear. But that Bitcoin completely auditable? By default, Bitcoin is completely auditable and has no privacy. But there are many Bitcoin privacy technologies being developed, active, that are not perfect solutions, but that honestly, it's a mouse and cat game. Like, how can you be one step ahead of like the IRS when developing Bitcoin privacy tech? And honestly, I think you can. Because the guys at the IRS, they aren't that smart. And the IRS is one, but then I live in Mexico, and the guys at the SAT, they're not smart at all. And the guys at the tax office in Brazil, man, these guys are not smart at all. So they don't get all the details of the privacy tech in Bitcoin and Monero, So you can stay one step ahead of them. I think that it works for that.
I'd be very careful messing with the IRS. I mean, that's how Capone got busted. No, because tax evasion, like that. There's one company, or not company, government agency that you don't want to fuck with. Is probably the IRS. Like, you need to give Uncle Sam your thing unless you renounce and pay your exit, taxes, all that. But if you make a name for yourself or you make too much money, like, they're gonna come for you. You know what I mean? Like, I would be very careful on that aspect. No.
Yeah, no, for sure. A trade model, what I say to people is it depends on your trade model, right? If you're a big figure, you have a lot of money, it's very different than if you're an average guy, But if you're an average guy and you use like privacy tools, and they're not going to invest that, they don't have the incentive to invest that many resources in you, So, and then you're good. But if you're the big guy, the billionaire guy that tries to hide all his money, good luck. They're going to put all the resources in the world to you, try to make an example out of you, right? So that's different. It depends on who you are.
Okay, AI. So why can't AI crack the seed phrases in 5, 10 years, AGI or whatever? Why is Bitcoin even relevant then when we have these tools?
Well, AI cannot by itself, but quantum computing can. Quantum computing can do like operations, like the best supercomputer we have today. Early models of quantum computing can do in 1 second what takes the supercomputer like 14 billion years. Okay, so like ridiculously faster. Like it doesn't even make sense how faster it can operate. Right now, it's very theoretical. Right now, they can just do like one single operation, like 1 + 1, 14 trillion times in a millisecond, right? Like, so not very useful, but in a couple of years, they're going to be able to crack Bitcoin's privacy, cryptographic, sorry. So now we're in the Bitcoin community, we already have many solutions of post-quantum cryptography. That already exists. In a couple of years, we're gonna have that in the Bitcoin network. So I'm not like super worried because we're already having those discussions and it will take years before quantum computing reaches that level. But yeah, I mean, it is something of concern that people are talking about and trying to find solutions to. Bitcoin wasn't made for the 2040s; it was made for the 2010s, and it's the people that say it's never going to change. Well, that's not true. What shouldn't ever change is the 21 million, right? The fact that transactions cannot be censored. Those are the core values. But the cryptography has to evolve with new technologies, and I think everybody in the Bitcoin community, or at least most people, are gonna make that transition and are in favor of that.
Interesting. Okay. I just saw a tweet. Some American tourist in London got into a taxi and was drugged, robbed for like 120 grand in Bitcoin. Talk to me about the privacy aspect because a lot of people are about OPSEC in this community because shit, if I find out you have a lot of Bitcoin, I can go kidnap you and get the seed phrase out of you. You know what I mean? I mean, they torture you. They can kill you, right? So tell me about that security aspect here where I can't just call my bank and say, hey, someone stole my credit card.
Yeah, very good question. Okay, so we're seeing this more and more, particularly in Europe. Weirdly, like you'd think this would happen more in Brazil and Mexico, but it's happening in UK and France. And like, yeah, Bitcoin puts personal responsibility on you. If you have self custody of your Bitcoin, your own wallet, you're the only one responsible for it, right? So you cannot call someone if you lose it. And that's good because they cannot censor you or confiscate your funds. But that's bad because then you're the only one responsible, right? So and then there's like, you could just leave it on Coinbase too, right? But then if someone hacks your Coinbase account, then you're done, right? It's even less secure than a bank account. And Coinbase is not going to reimburse you like the bank would, right? Because they cannot just print Bitcoins like they can literally print dollars at the bank, right? So I would say the biggest solution, first of all, it's like don't invest in Bitcoin. Like invest only to the extent that it's like if I put $1,000 and $1,000 is not a lot of money for me, for example, well, that's cool. If I lose $1,000, it's not the end of the world, right? But if I put like $50,000, which becomes considerable money, and I still haven't studied Bitcoin enough that I don't really know what I'm doing, that's really dumb. So study Bitcoin. As you want to invest more, study more and understand more how to keep it safe, how to keep it private, right? Under these nowadays, when I started, there wasn't any information of this out there. Nowadays, there's a ton of information out there on how to keep Bitcoin secure. One trick we like is the multi-signature scheme, like kind of like a joint check account where you need like two people to agree to a transaction to like withdraw the funds. So if you have like a multi-signature wallet, you can have like one key at your mom's house in the US, for example, and one key with you. So if you get kidnapped, it's way harder to like release all the funds to the guys. Like, hey, I don't even have control over it, man. Like, it's my Bitcoin, but I cannot just like send it to you in a few minutes. It's gonna take. You would have to call my mom in the US. She doesn't know how to handle this, so I would have to go to the US. So this is the main solution, like the main basic technology, and then there's like many company solutions and products built on top of like multi-signature wallets to try to hedge your security when you get kidnapped or attacked, because yes, Bitcoin is secure, the system is secure, but your physical security is not that secure, right? The $5 wrench attack, we call it. You know, it's only takes a $5 wrench, hit you in the head, and that's it, right? So yeah, do that. Also, what's good is like some if you cannot like give him the big stash, at least have some pocket money with you. Like, let's say you have $100,000 in Bitcoin. Well, have like 5K ready to send. So it's like, hey, guy, I can give you 5K right now. Make it worth the attacker's time, right? Somebody took a risk kidnapping you. They're not gonna leave until they get at least something, you know. So give him like the 5%, 10% of your stash, right there, and he'll leave with that, you know. So there's and hardware wallets also I recommend it, you know. Don't just keep everything on your phone. Use a physical device that is made for like Bitcoin, like a specialized Bitcoin wallet. And like, for example, one that I really like is the cold card because it has all these features built in it. You know, like if you enter a PIN, it will give you access to another wallet, which is the under duress wallet. It doesn't give you access to your main stash, but another stash that you could give the kidnapper, you know. So this wallet cold card is built for like the paranoid type guy, you know.
You are in Mexico City, no?
Yes.
The head of police just got assassinated on the street. So this doesn't cross your mind, putting your face out here saying, hey, I got this Bitcoin and the cartel. I mean, obviously you're a small fish compared to like the cartel, right? But one day they say, hey, I want a little come up and, you know, take you for a ride. I mean, this is happening, you know, like you said, in France, UK. But I mean, now I think when the Latinos, the Latin America gets more privy to these new things, like Medellin, they're doing it a lot. Dudes are losing everything, you know, when they get the scope, all that. I just think it's tough, man. And there needs to be some solutions that are coming, or you can't, you know, put all your money in Bitcoin. Otherwise, you know, I would love to put all my money in Bitcoin, but fuck, if someone can just knock me on the head with a wrench in the street and take all my life savings, like, that's a problem, you know?
That's a big problem. And honestly, I'm not gonna say too much, but I'm working on a very specialized advanced custody solution for Latin America specifically for the region where you get like rich people get kidnapped in Mexico all the time, in Brazil all the time, in Canada almost never. Like a rich guy, have you ever heard of a rich guy getting kidnapped in the US or Canada? Like, I've never heard that. But in Mexico, everybody I know has a cousin that has gotten kidnapped at some point, right? And it usually resolves under 48 hours. They just send like $20,000 to $50,000 and they release them. But yeah, this happens. So yeah, this is something that I've noticed. I'm gonna work on this. I'm gonna put a target on my back to at least like defend my customers, you know. But I think this will work out and I'll make a ton of money out of it. But yeah, this is why the rich Latinos always live in the bubble, you know, like always in the super high security neighborhoods, only hang out with other people in the social circle, you know. Like, we expats, we like to like play around, you know, and go everywhere, but rich Latinos don't do like that, you know. They very much stay strict to the protocol, right? So, and yeah, I mean, as I grow here and I do more business here, I will have to adapt to that lifestyle. And it's not completely like I've seen this when I was a kid, right? I grew up in Peru. Peru is very dangerous too, you will know. And like we weren't like the wealthiest kids, but my parents were doctors, you know, so we did pretty okay. And you know, I had a sort of strict protocol where like you only go to the house, to the school, to the family club, you know, to the friend's house that goes to the same private school that knew and is also a doctor, their parents, you know. So yeah, I mean, that's a trade-off we gotta in some ways follow to live here in a more secure way. But at the same time, like the lifestyle that I get here, I would have to pay 10 times this to have it in Canada or the US, you know. Just to have a lady come clean my house on a Saturday, and it costs me $20, you know. And I tell my American friends, and they're like, it would cost like 10 times more here, you know. Or if they want a full-time like maid, it costs them like 80 grand, you know, in like expensive American cities. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I think I'm ready to make that trade-off. But yeah, it's a scary world out there, and people that like only care like if you cannot handle this trade-off, well, better not move here or better not be a loudmouth here, you know.
You think Peru's that dangerous? I don't think so. I mean, maybe when you grew up, but now, when I was there, I felt totally fine. Almost Argentine level safety. Not that much, because there's a lot of Venezuelan problems. At least the Peruvians told me that. Like a lot of the immigrants, refugees came there. But for the most part, Peru is quite safe, no?
Outside of Lima, it's quite safe. Okay, so Peru is very different than Brazil or Mexico, where you have like insecurity everywhere. So, but in Lima, if you have a big name in Lima, it's very like, because Lima has a very dangerous hoods. Okay, where like mostly Venezuelan gangs now are taking over all the hoods in Lima, and now they run the hoods. And if you are a big figure in Miraflores in Lima, and you live there, where it's very easy for some guys from the barrio to spot you on TV and then follow you and your kids, make a little kidnapping. That does happen, you know, because but yeah, if you're in Cusco in the Sacred Valley touristic parts, it's very safe, and that's what I think. That's why I recommend Peru for tourism, is because once you are out of the city, you're very safe. But if you live in Lima, you gotta watch your back.
Yeah, I would recommend everyone to go visit Peru. I mean, I still need to do the north, but I mean, obviously it's on the coast. You have all these different beaches, different water stuff, but the mountains, the food is probably second best to Mexico, in my opinion, in Latin America. But there's just a certain vibe. Like it's a weird vibe in that little area, not really little, but of Latin America that has a lot of history, a lot of soul, a lot of good vibes. So I'm a big fan of Peru.
Nice, man. That's awesome.
Okay, tell me, who do you think is in charge, or whose idea is it to print all this money, devalue currency, get off the gold standard? Don't go full on conspiracy maybe, but just tell me why this is in place for the top dogs. Is it just because they're the elites and this is how they print money out of thin air and make everyone else poor and stay rich? Like, why is our economy so fucked up?
I think everyone got greedy, you know. Like I think when a country develops and has more wealth, everybody gets greedy. The middle class gets greedy. They're like, government keep giving me free services, you know, like, and like in the 1960s through like LBJ, the two big things we see in the 1960s in the U.S., because in 1971 is the year that like the gold parity ends and like fiat money really begins. And in the 1960s, there's two events.
Do you know why though?
Why exactly?
The French debt. There's a lot of different debt, and then we said, "Fuck you guys." We won basically the war, World War II. Obviously the Russians, but like we came out on top. Right. All the major powers were destroyed. So we're like, no, we're the top dogs now. You know, we're not going to play by your rules. You're not going to call us on our gold. Like, we're going to go this way. And it helped the American economy actually going off the gold standard. It did. So this is when people say this, like, oh, let's just go back to gold. But like, we export all our inflation, right? Export all our inflation. You guys, everyone else deals with it. You know what I mean? But for the most part, yeah, it started hurting us. But if any other country had this kind of debt and was printing this much money, their currency would be Zimbabwe currency, right? It'd be Argentina currency. So like, I think there's a nuanced conversation on that aspect where like everyone like, oh my God, if we didn't go up the gold standard and it's because of this group of people or that group of people, like no, like the middle class did get very help from it. We developed the strongest middle class ever because of it. Now that we get, we started buying all the Chinese toys for Christmas. You know, we had 20 gifts each, for the middle class family. But I think when someone comes up here and says like, oh, that was the biggest problem. No, there's more nuance to it. And it did help a lot of people at the moment, and my life, I grew up amazing. I got a lottery ticket at life, so like, I'm grateful they did it. But anyways, keep going.
Totally. Like, I mean, I got a little ticket to life too, to be honest. Like, I grew up in the 2000s in Canada. It was great. Everything was basically perfect, and it was a benefit from that. And yeah, for sure, there's a lot. It's very nuanced. But in the 19th, I think the two main reasons why the government was pushed to like break the gold standard is because, first of all, in the 1960s, after the growth of the 40s and the 50s, everyone was expecting more from the government, so there's LBJ has his Great Society plan, with like Social Security and all these things, Medicare. So that's a ton of money that's spent, and that's when I think like the people become greedy and they're like, government keep giving. And also the Vietnam War was very
Vietnam.
expensive.
Exactly. And my bad for cutting you off, but also I forgot to totally say it. The Vietnam War, and people say, "Oh my God, it's the why did we do it? And it was so stupid." Dude, the domino theory, I 100% believe in. And if you guys want to live underneath the fucking commies, I lived in Eastern Poland, right? I talked to the old people that were underneath the Soviet Union and how great and beautiful that was. It wasn't at all. Like horror stories, right? So I do think we had to pay for the Vietnam War. People were starting to call on our gold at the French, a couple different places. And we said, fuck you, we're going off it, right? Because we think, obviously for our influence, obviously for our benefit, but also to stop communism. Bro, if we didn't go in there and keep Thailand and somewhat of Cambodia, even though the Khmer Rouge, all that, like that would have spread fast. You know what I mean? Like it was on us to say, no, we're not going to let all these commies do this. In Europe too, in Bologna. I lived in Bologna for 2 years. It's known as the Red City because it's like the most communist place in Italy and freaking Europe, right? And they had marches. Like I saw one where these commies marching around, going crazy. But we had all the little CIA assets in Western Europe to keep it from not being commies. And I know you, I hope, as a Bitcoiner, the worst thing in the world is a fucking communist. You know what I mean? Like to me, it's yeah. So I think sorry to cut you off, but that Vietnam War was actually important for the world to not fall underneath the Soviet Marxist, all that bullshit communism.
Totally. I mean, I think the first one is the Korean War, and the Korean War was actually very much an American success. The Vietnamese War was a bit of a disappointment, right? Because there was as much as it lasted for like 15 years or so, like it lasted a long time, and it retained them. At the end, the Americans retreated, and like Vietnam fell completely communist, right? And Vietnam today is still communist, well, like China. And yeah, I mean but that just is just a ton of money spent, and sometimes a ton of money stolen too, like war is the best way to create corruption and to steal money from the government, and that continued, after communists ended, then the Arab wars began, like the Iraq war, the Afghanistan war were extremely costly. I think like half of the debt are from the Afghanistan and the Iraq war. It was about $20 trillion that were spent in those two wars, and I honestly think those two wars were a failure too. So they were like, and it was a bit different then because we're no longer fighting communists. Now we're fighting like Islamism, which is very bad too, but it's a different strategy, right? So, anyways, that's what led to ending the gold standard. There's just too much government spending, so it's not just the people at top. There are good reasons to spend money, right? Like you say, we got to defeat the communists, but it just leads to a point. But where's the limit, right? If you don't put a limit to that, then it's easy to just go over the board and end up 50 years later with like $40 trillion in debt.
So you're not saying like it's a grand conspiracy. You're just saying, okay, it became a slippery slope, and now we're at the point we're at. Not a certain group is behind it, or the bankers, or the globalists, or you can go full on Kanye West. Like,
I mean, you could throw in that part too. Like, there are people in power that made a ton of money from moving the factories to Asia, right? And they didn't care about the average Americans. They don't have an American sentiment in them. They just want to make money, right? And they love that they can move it elsewhere so that they don't even have to bring back the money to pay taxes in the US, right? They can just hide it in Caymans after investing it in Philippines. Yeah.
But that's what we're doing, though. That's the crazy part. Is like, isn't this libertarianism? Like, this is like get the best deal or the best labor for your money. This is capitalism, right? Like, so, but that's another thing I bash like the libertarians on. It's like, oh, we sent all our jobs over there. I do the same fucking thing. I have contractors all around the world, like, and they work for a tenth of an American. So, if you can't beat them, join them. But isn't this capitalism too? Like, or when comes a point where it's like, okay, no, our national identity, where we are, we have to take care of that first and protect it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I've been on both sides. When I was younger, I was way more libertarian. Like free markets. But then you start seeing problems from being too globalist. It's like, now it's like, you got to protect your country as well, because there's always going to be cheaper labor somewhere. Particularly if then you import those peoples, to your country, and then it's like, well, now they're not even outside, they're inside. So yeah, I mean, it's tricky, right? Because you don't want to give it too much to the people that are anti this, because then they'll just become communists. But then you don't want to either like just not consider at all the dynamics of the country. I've heard this phrase from someone on Twitter, and I think it's very important. Too much inequality creates chaos, and I think Latin America is the perfect example of a region where like too much inequality created chaos, and too much chaos hurts freedom too. Like at some point it becomes too dangerous because there's just too many poor people and very little rich. It's not that safe anymore. It's not that free anymore. So you at the same time, as much as I like, I'm a big capitalist, of course, I gotta consider that like if you don't like have a view of everyone in society, you can just wreck it, and then it becomes chaos, and it's not safe anymore. So we want to avoid that, right? And so it's a tricky place. It's a tricky balance.
100%. Okay, the cult of Bitcoin. Do you think it's a problem? Do you think they're right? I mean, obviously they've been proven somewhat right. I mean, we just hit all-time highs again, but there's a lot of people get turned off when they see these people, like they become part of like a Republican Party or Democrat Party. I'm a Bitcoiner. This is my identity. I'm all in. I'm life or death on it. Tell me about the cult aspect of Bitcoin.
I mean, Bitcoin has a big cult aspect to it. I would tell you that like there are some like historical analogies where like some money can become like a cult factor. Like first like. Some civilizations have thought like gold is magical or it comes from God, So like there's a reproduction of that in Bitcoin, But of course, mania also has a big effect. Like if you just make a ton of money, you're like so excited about something, you think it's everything in your life, right? So, I mean, I would say Bitcoin is gonna succeed, not because of this, but even if this is the case, Bitcoin will succeed, ignoring that, So this doesn't have much of an impact on Bitcoin, right? And it's not a positive. It's not going to destroy Bitcoin. It's maybe somewhat a bit of a net negative, But I mean, everything has as everything grows, you will have some groups that have become too obsessed about it and like annoying about it. It's just inevitable when something grows this much, right? But I would tell people to like not like, no, you don't have to like be on Twitter to buy Bitcoin. You don't have to like be following the news all day, or like be a Michael Saylor fan, or it's easy when, let's say, when I'm on Twitter, it seems like everyone is like that. But then when you go to like a real life Bitcoin event, that's when you see people. Actually, there's like it's not like the Twitter effect isn't as present there anymore. Twitter has an effect where it seems where everybody's just like tribalist about something. So yeah, I would say go talk to people in person, and then you'll see something different.
Okay, for the layman, the average person, like why are people so excited, so in love with Bitcoin? Not because just they're getting rich, but like the principles of it. Like just explain it like we're 5 years old.
Bitcoin is the invention of digital scarcity. Okay, so if you like we all have a computer, and we all can just click and copy like a picture, right? You have a picture saved, or like a folder, or like a file. You can just click and copy, right? So there's no digital scarcity, right? Anything can just be copied a million times or deleted. And like scarcity is just in the real world. I cannot just like copy my phone, or there's like physical laws that block it. Bitcoin is the invention of digital scarcity. It's the first time that if I have one Bitcoin, I cannot just click copy because and make another Bitcoin out of it, right? Because it's a network of hundreds of thousands of computers that that verify every cryptographic signature in every transaction. That if I try to do that, they would just not accept it, right? And the network would not consider it valid. So it would never work, my tentative to try to copy one Bitcoin and make it two, right? Duplicate. or double spend. So that and that's the real beauty of Bitcoin. You create digital scarcity in a world where, particularly in a digital world where there's absolutely no scarcity. Like how many TikTok videos are uploaded every second. It's like people there's an abundance of like infinite noise in the social media and the web. Where like everybody's just fueled with like noise. Bitcoin plays a counterbalance to that, I think. In a world of so much noise, it's real digital scarcity. And I think the market has been valuing that more and more, and will continue to do so because of that. So in a world of such abundance and noise, having something with limited supply and digital scarcity is, I think, is very impressive.
Good breakdown. I did like a series, I think this was 2021, with Tommy Farr. He's in the Bored Ape Yacht Club. He was building metaverse hospitality, meta hospitality. Like he was going to do hotels in the metaverse, okay? And obviously the whole NFT thing, dropped off the face of the earth, but I still see a lot of potential in it. I didn't buy any NFTs back then, or anything, but I'm like, damn, this makes sense. Like, our world is pretty digital. We're spending fucking 8 hours a day on our phone, all that. Like, why wouldn't this, real estate and Wilder World or this, or if I wear a chain up there, like, it's like a status thing. Like Instagram. Instagram is fucking, massive. That's not real life, What do you think about that Web3, NFT, all that kind of space, and where is it going right now?
Yeah, well, I mean, in 2021, this was the big talk, right? Everybody was jumping on it. It was supposedly going to change the world. Now, it's not as present anymore. A lot of projects turned out to be scams. They realize, these things become fads. One day they're popular, another day they're not popular. Like something on Instagram, one day someone's popular on Instagram, the other day they're not that cool anymore. Or like a shirt, So because they're trends and fads, they don't last as long as something that is Bitcoin, that is like untrendy. It's like it's not. It doesn't have a trend associated to it, or like a brand, really. So I think there will be something at some point that has success in it. Yes. I don't know what, and I don't know anybody that knows which one. So I don't advise investing in this. I think it's like very gambling centric, because you have basically a chance in a million to pick the right NFT or pick the right metaverse. And I also would say that the problem are often the fundamentals. It's like you're building this on blockchain networks that aren't really decentralized. For example, Solana, which people love, it's very centralized, and it has downtime very often. Like once a month, it goes down. There, and it's like, maybe you have the right idea for like a metaverse and NFT, but you're not building on the right infrastructure. So is your metaverse hotel really scarce? Not really. If you don't have the right infrastructure, it's not really scarce. It's just a marketing play, right? So. But will there be at some point a technology that has the right infrastructure and provides the right brand and it's at the right timing? Probably that can happen, but I don't think I can bet on that. So I would rather just not do it. I keep an eye at it, but I don't put my money there.
Well, 100%. Some Ready or Player One, whatever type thing, Black Mirror, put your thing in there, transport to the online world is going to happen. Okay, so when that happens, of course, it's going to be very nice to own something in there or have some sort of status. Like we've seen it for like a decade, more than that, with the CS:GO skins, or Fortnite now with their different like skins. Like this is something's gonna happen with it. Like more people spend more time online now than ever before, obviously, but I think there's a future in this. Do I want to partake in it necessarily? I don't know, but I've been saying for a while, with the AI, the virtual reality, like I've lived a great life, okay? I've done what I wanted to do, Hakuna Matata, but now, like if I could put a fucking contact in and go be a Viking and raid the Italian coast, in the 1200s, like I would fucking do it and feel everything. Like we're gonna have something like Elon Musk, the brain chip or whatnot, where you can actually like live that experience. You can feel what it's like to be a Roman Empire or emperor. You can do whatever the fuck you want. A pirate in the golden age of piracy. Like I want to do that. You know what I mean? Is it gonna be kind of sad for like the kids who, like, why would you want to live in real life if you can go experience everything when you're 13 years old? You know what I mean? It's kind of crazy, but I don't know. I think it's going to be a wild world the next few years. I'm glad I did what I wanted, at my age already. So whatever happens is going to happen. But yeah, do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, and this is not like it has some bad to it, it has some good to it, but it's just is. I think it's very dumb to try to fight technology. Like technology will happen. You don't want to be yelling at it and be completely like unable to stop it. Just rather embrace it, even if it has some negative to it, just accept it. I'll make sure that my kids are not they'll just talk to it all day, and go out in the real world. But yeah, I wanna. It does sound nice, like I do think it makes sense, like there's a. Have you seen the latest things on Neuralink? Like they've put a chip on the brain of monkeys that are able to type like I am hungry on a keyboard, because the chip is able to like communicate to the monkey that it should type on those letters to express that feeling it has, or like even monkeys that are able to play pong, the game pong, where you got like a little ball. Monkeys are able to play that. People that are that are blind are able to see with this. So like these things are absolutely crazy, and they're just beginning. AI is absolutely crazy, and it's just beginning. So yeah, I'm bullish on this, and it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I mean, the prophecies come true. Like the freaking what was in the Bible, the tattoo or the mark of the mark of the beast, right? The Neuralink, all that kind of shit. It's crazy, right? But yeah, I don't know. I think you gotta be very smart. Try to live in the real world, but also mix in like during the pandemic, so many dudes became mega popular posting TikToks, right? And then they leveraged that into other social media platforms, but everyone was too afraid to do the little dances, But these people are making millions still, So yeah, you gotta be on point with different things. Okay, as we wrap this thing up, let's definitely talk about like your guys' company. So like I can just show up in Mexico, download this app, and start paying for everything in Bitcoin. Like really break it down for me, because I mean it sounds unbelievable if you guys are doing this. You should be a multi billionaire already.
Well, it's not as the 5 second pitch is nicer than the true story. So it's a web app, so you have to go on a website and then you can add it to your home screen. So it's not yet on the app stores. So you go on Chrome, you open that, and the sad part about it is you gotta do a KYC right now. If you only do like $300 a month, we don't ask for, like, it's not a strong KYC. It's just your name, your address, and your CURP, which is like your ID number or your passport number. But
Amigo, have you been to Argentina?
no, I have. Well, when I was a kid, not recently.
Go down there and see what they're doing with crypto, and because obviously they've been fucked over by. I mean, lost all their money in 2001 from the banks, but their currency is always, inflated. It's kind of stable now with Malay. We don't really trust Malay. I did a podcast with a wandering investor, and he kind of broke it down really good. And I saw it firsthand these first 3 months of this year I was down there. But dude, it is crazy what they do with the crypto and the cash, and there's not many rules, man. It's free down there. I would check that out, and maybe it'll give you some inspiration. But anyways, keep going. My bad.
No, thank you for that. I mean, that's what I've heard, and I really want to go. I think I'm gonna go in November. They have a big conference, La BitConf. So yeah. So anyways, so you go on the website app. Then you do the little KYC. Like I said, you don't have to upload an ID. You just enter your name, your address, like your date of birth. Like very basic. If you're doing like less than $300 a month, you just want to test it out. And then you're ready. You got Bitcoin in your wallet. And you need to, then you go on the app, you enter an amount, you enter a bank number or a debit card or a phone number. If someone has linked their phone number to their bank account, you can just enter their phone number or their debit card number or their bank number. And once you click on like create, like make transfer, it tells you, okay, pay like this amount of Bitcoin, send it to this address. You do that, and we use the Lightning Network because we want to provide an instantaneous experience. So the Lightning Network, for those that don't know, it's a payment network for Bitcoins that is instantaneous. So, kind of like the dollar has ACH, Visa, MasterCard, all those are different networks for the same currency. Bitcoin also has different networks, Bitcoin network, the Lightning network. So Lightning network, we use it because it's instantaneous. So as soon as I go in my wallet and I pay the invoice that is like Swapido tells me to pay, the money arrives in the bank account. It takes about 15 seconds in total for you to pay the Bitcoin, for the money to arrive in the bank account. So if you go out, you shop a shirt, or you you eat something, or you have drinks, whatever, rent a place from someone, you can use it for all sorts of use cases. So yeah, you don't have to be Mexican or have Mexican ID. You can just use it as with whatever ID. The only thing is I mean, we do have some checks, like if you're like from China or like not like North Korea, we won't accept you, but other than that, yeah, we'll take you, and yeah, you can just use it for in Mexico.
What's the fees?
The fees are 2.7% on top of the Google rate. So if you go on Google, check out the Bitcoin rate in pesos, you add 2.7% on that. We believe we can bring it down to 1.5% in about 4 to 6 months.
Is the person who receives the money paying it, right? So not the buyer.
No, the person so basically it's like, let's say you want to send 1,000 pesos. So it tells you pay this amount of Bitcoin, and the amount of Bitcoin you pay already has the extra 2.7%.
Gotcha.
So the person that receives the person receives 1,000 pesos as you wish for them to receive 1,000 pesos.
How far are you guys on this? Like, when did you launch?
We launched in October, so it's been about 6 months.
And can I ask you how many people are on this right now?
We're four people, 4 founders.
Users.
Users. We have about 400 signups and about 60 monthly users.
60 monthly users. Okay, good. And there's no problems with them? They're happy?
Yeah, they're very happy. I mean, it's not like people who spends their Bitcoin, like not that many people, right? So like it's a niche within a niche, right? But the guys that are doing that, they like it because it's built for this, like you can sell Bitcoin with exchanges, but it's gonna be like multi-step. It's gonna take hours. With this, you can just do it instantly, and it's one step. So yeah, if you are into this use case specifically, you will like it.
And the plan is the rest of this year to expand to Brazil, to Argentina, or what's going on?
Yeah, we explore different markets. We think Brazil could be one of the next ones. But we're really focused on allowing people to buy Bitcoin in Mexico, so like as much as I want to make Bitcoin a very useful as a payment method, it's still so early on that like most people that I talk to like don't even have Bitcoin, right? So we're just gonna launch the buy Bitcoin option in Mexico in about a few months, and then we'll probably look into making like Bitcoin to Pix in Brazil. That's something we're looking at too.
I got a dude, a Kiwi, New Zealander, that's been working with crypto in Brazil, like different exchanges. I don't even know, I forgot, but he knows the scene a lot. So I'll introduce you. I know it's a bitch because all the bureaucracy, all the crazy stuff that goes on here, but I think it might be a good connect for you. But great. Hi, my friend. So it was a pleasure having you on. You gonna head down south anytime soon, or you're staying in Mexico City? You love it there.
Yeah, I mean, I like it here, but right now I'm actually going north. I'm going to Vegas on Sunday for the Bitcoin conference. I'm going to be talking at that conference. I'm going to Montreal to see my family. My brother's getting married in the Czech Republic to a girl from there, so I'm going there after. But I'll be in South America around October. I'll go to Buenos Aires and I'll go to Sao Paulo for like 2 Bitcoin conferences, that I'm trying to speak at, and maybe go around a little bit thereafter. But yeah, and the guy you told me you could introduce me to, thank you for that. I would appreciate that, and thank you for having me.
Beautiful. Hi, my friend. I learned a lot. It was a pleasure, conversation, and everyone else, live bold.